Hi, this is a picture of my latest weaving project. It is a band measuring 3 meters by 6 centimeters, done using the Baltic Pick-up style of weaving. The background threads are 12-2 linen made by Bokkens. The 33 pattern threads are Harrisville Shetland wool. I call the pattern Saulisrits, or sun cycle. There are 8 symbols representing the 2 solstices, the 2 equinoxes, and the 4 halfway points. The 8 major symbols are separated by moon symbols representing the 45 days, a month and a half, between the major points. The sun cycle adds up to 360 days. The 5 extra days are added as celebratory days outside the calendar. 2 days are added after the summer solstice and 3 days are added after the winter solstice, or vice versa. The pattern is approximately 400 lines long and is repeated 5 times for a total of approximately 2,000 lines. I wove this band on version 2 of the Baltic Pick-up Drawloom, which I created in 2021. Here you can see me weaving a test piece, followed by a close-up which is speeded up 8 times. This is a video about version 2 of my loom. Here is a picture of version 1. I built version 1 from the ground up. I decided to use a different approach for version 2. I wanted to see if the concept of a drawloom attachment to an existing loom was practical. I had some changes in mind. The loom should be smaller so that it could fit through a doorway. It should be portable with a warp on it. I excluded floor looms from my search and started looking for table looms that could accept an attachment. The table looms had to be narrow enough to fit through a doorway, which led me to looking for looms with a 50 centimeter weaving width. They couldn't be much less than 50 centimeters because of the width of the levers. They had to have a stand because the lingos, the weights for the draws, hang below the bottom of the loom. They should have an optional second warp beam. It turned out that one loom met all the criteria. That loom is the Lielvārde chain loom. Using that loom as the basis for my design, I drew up a 3D model of a Drawloom attachment using a 3D modeling program called FreeCAD. Here's a rendition of the design. Much as I wanted to use a Lielvārde chain for this experiment, I couldn't justify the expense. A friend who belongs to the local weaving guild suggested that I look for looms on the weaving guild's weekly email. She was gracious enough to forward the emails to me, and I soon had 2 donated 22-inch Rasmussen table looms, including one with a floor stand. The wood on the looms was sound, but the reeds were corroded due to storage. The looms were just a little too wide, and I determined to cut one down to size. The Rasmussen looms have the levers on the top of the loom, which does not work with the Drawloom attachment. The stand that came with one of the looms was an X-frame, which would prevent the lingos from hanging freely. I decided that I would modify the castle of the loom and that I would build a stand. I ended up making a new castle which converted the loom from a jack loom to a counterbalance loom. I would operate the shafts with my feet. I cut the width of one of the looms to 50 centimeters. I extended the back of the loom to accommodate a second warp beam. I built a stand out of 2x2s and made pedals out of plywood and attached them with long continuous hinges. With the basics of the loom done, it was time to make the Drawloom attachment. The attachment is basically a frame that has an extension that holds the levers and guide plates. Using a 3D printer, I printed out the guide plates, the levers, and the lever bases. I used nylon for durability and wear resistance. Putting it all together, I realized that I could hang the beater from the Drawloom attachment and have an overhead beater, which I much prefer. I ordered a new 16-dent reed and modified the old beater to accommodate the new reed in the new position. So at the end of the project, I have a band weaving Drawloom that allows me to weave complex patterns using the Baltic Pick-up technique without the tedious manual picking associated with backstrap looms.